welcome to The Cutting Edge, episode 6. Today we're here with David Boyd, head of our Ford Academy and our technical trainer. Dave, you want to give us kind of a rundown? Where'd you get started with Ford?
Well, I've been in industry for quite some time, an embarrassingly long time.
I don't think that's the case.
1996. I've been in the industry since then. I actually started with a company very similar to Ford called, I don't remember the name.
It's 1996.
Yeah, it's 1996. Who cares? They aren't even around anymore anyway. But the company was very much just like Ford. And what happened is they got bought out by Icon Office Solutions. Then we were Icon, which was a global company. And that global company got bought out by Ricoh. So right off the bat, I worked for 3 different types of companies, and trust me, there were 3 different types of companies. And I 100% like the dealer, the
dealer model.
Independent provider, so much better than the corporate, because the corporate, nothing against corporations, but you are a number in a corporation. You're not, I remember at Icon getting that number, and I remember at Ricoh getting that number. Here's your number, and you had.
What was your number?
I blocked that out. I definitely blocked that out. But
you were number 1. Right?
Yeah, no, wasn't number 1. No.
At least the top 10.
Yeah. I wish.
Well, we love having you here. I remember years ago being on the box truck with you when you first started.
You got me in trouble the first day.
I probably did. I thought I did that.
Well, I want to hear that story.
So, now remember, I'm sure everybody knows these are the owners. So I'm new. I'm on the box truck. I'm delivering equipment. And he's the owner's son. And he's like, Dave, let's do this. Dave, let's do that. And I'm thinking, hey, Justin's the son. Let's do it.
Sounds like Justin.
So we stopped somewhere. I can't.
Probably had a good lunch. I was really good at getting lunches.
Yeah, getting lunches. It wasn't nothing. It was just stopping and getting lunch. And by the time we got back, his dad, John, was like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "Well, Justin wanted to stop and do this," and he's like, "Don't you listen to Justin?" I'm like, that was like my first 8 hours of joining Ford, and it kind of my heart stopped, because you don't want the owner knowing your name that way. I mean,
it was fine.
It's
fine. Not early on.
Not yet.
But I will tell you, I mean, since you've been here, it's been a true differentiator as you've grown with our organization. I think you've wore probably every different hat within our service operations department as you've grown through here. So you've had that depth of experience that really allows you to be a differentiator as we've grown and added team members here at Ford.
And I remember being young, being a new technician. The guys that I can name on my hand, the senior technicians that I remember that helped me. And today I still say a prayer for them, and I'm like, God, thank you. They're the reason I am the man I am today, because they gave me that base to start off of. I mean, I don't think I would not be where I'm at today if I didn't have that base of those senior technicians that helped me out. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about teaching, because I want to give back to the young kids or the young technicians that come in today.
And that is your role now,
yes,
as an educator
here at Ford. Yes.
So we set out a couple of years ago to create the best in-class service experience that our industry, not just an average experience that our competitors or peers give. We really set out to step that up, and you've taken that program of bringing our new talent on board from that mentorship that you had growing up, and really tried to develop that talent coming through. Tell us about that that experience. Let's dive into that secret sauce, I guess.
Well,
a little bit.
Really, it is. I'm not a rah person kind of, but I am passionate about this, and I believe that my passion is what brings out the best in what can be done here. A lot of the guys, and I have taken that from the manufacturers. I have to get manufacturer trained to come back and teach the technicians here. So it's the same exact technical training. It's just I throw in a little bit more. But it's a lot of the manufacturer guys are also passionate, but I'm passionate about the way we're set up. I don't like saying, Canon's number one or Ricoh's number one or Konicka's number one or
Right.
Kyocera's number one. I like saying, you know what, we can provide what the customer wants. And we need to be able
Ford
to
is
fix
number one,
Ford's
yes.
number- yeah.
Ford's number one, exactly. Ford's number one, and we need to be able to provide exactly what the customer wants. We need to have efficient technicians go in and fix their equipment, because we also, we want to help the customer, but we also want to make money. But the best way for us to do that is to have efficient technicians.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and I think it's not only the Ricoh training, it's not only the Konica Minolta, the Canon training, but it's the development of the soft skills to make sure that we're taking care of the client first, and then also being able to have the knowledge to solve the problem.
Yes, yeah.
Or have the resource to do.
because of my experience as being a technician, I also can throw in little tidbits of, hey, when I did this and when I did that kind of a thing. A lot of the manufacturers, they still kind of do that, but it's not. They make it very generic, so it's very hard for somebody new, let's say, to picture that in their head. But I can actually, when you name the customer, when you remember the technician that you were with or whatever, it brings it to life, kind of a thing. But I do that as best I can for the guys. I don't want to overwhelm the new guys, with stories like that. But sometimes it comes out, and I tell them right off the bat, I'm just passionate about doing this because I know what it was like when I was, at you guys. I was scared because every day I thought, man, I'm going to go to a machine, I'm not going to be able to fix it. People are going to think I'm an idiot, and me being embarrassed of being an idiot is the reason why I was able to fix a lot of equipment because I wanted to go. I wanted to go in and fix it and be like, I'm not an idiot, I swear. But so I try to instill that in the guys. And
on the service side, there's kind of a pride whenever they can find a problem that they can fix that nobody else has been able to touch.
That is probably the number one technician job satisfaction that there is fixing the equipment that you've had an issue with, and then going out to your car and just sitting there. And I can remember putting my hands on the steering wheel and going, "Oh, thank you, God, I fixed that." Because it's not. Fixing equipment is not always a straightforward job. Sometimes, the PM stuff, don't need to get into that, but that stuff's normal. It's when it's not normal or the issues.
Back when you started, it was probably simpler than it is today. Because back then it was all mechanical.
There was
you
a lot
literally
more.
had mirrors. I remember having to clean the mirrors because it would get dust on them.
I had one machine that had a bicycle. What do you call it? Chain. All through the machine. It was one of the ones that actually had a sticker on the back, and it showed a tie, and it showed it. So when I started, you had to wear a white shirt and tie,
right?
And it literally said, "Put your tie in here because it could get caught in that bicycle chain." And
so that mechanical piece, though, a lot simpler to fix today. They're computers.
Yes.
Not only do you got the mechanical piece, but you got to be an IT technician now.
Yeah, you have to at least know a little bit about that. And right now, I'm trying to get to where we can one classes do the A+ certification and Net+ certification for our guys.
Yeah.
So I want to. I'm studying for that right now to get so we can do that. That's the one thing that has to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Guys have to want to
Next level.
go next level.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree with that.
So-
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, and it's educating the youth too. I mean, sometimes it's a career that might not look sexy from the outside, but it's provided a good life for a lot of our people here.
Yes, it has, and I hate the you're not going to get rich being a technician, but you're not going to be poor either.
Right.
And that's it's been that way since day one. I remember getting hired. It was called Allegheny Business Machines. It just hit me.
Oh, there you
At
go.
Allegheny Business Machines.
Yeah.
I remember getting hired, and I remember the guy who hired me, Nelson. He came and he said, "You're probably not going to have a job in 5 years." And I'm like, "Why? What do you mean about that?" "Oh, well, everybody's going to scan." Yeah. Well, I'm still here almost 30 years later, and no one's really scanning. So, they're scanning more. They're scanning, but they're not. I'm not out of a job. Let's just say that. There's still companies like us.
The industry's
that
still got legs,
Yes,
for sure,
yes,
but
yes.
it's definitely changed
Correct.
more technical. it seems like when there is something wrong, it's like you're chasing a ghost inside one of these machines. You know, I equate it to you take your car into the shop and you get it back, and you know, the check engine light was on, and you get it back, and then
10 miles later,
it pops back on. It's so frustrating. But we sympathize when it happens to a client, so we try to create processes here to you know, minimize that, or you have that not happen. As we try to deliver an unparalleled client experience. So you know, that entails bringing the device back here, having someone that's more of a senior level technician, or you know, sharpshooter, if you will, work on that device.
I do want to mention that our service technicians are actually manufacturer trained through me. They actually get certificates, and they are allowed to call the tech support. So they have their IDs and everything, and they can call and say, you know, hey, this is the machine, this is what's going on, and the technicians at the manufacturer can help. So that's one of the reasons why we started this, is so those guys can do that, and that will help a lot with you know, making guys more efficient. And they can
get
fix it right then
educated
and
on
there.
site. They can learn from the best that we have versus going away for a couple of weeks, coming back thinking they know everything when maybe they don't.
Yeah, and another benefit of that is, like you're here, we had a conversation earlier about your phone's still on. You know, they're not calling a Canon trainer once they leave Canon.
No,
They're on hold for 4 or 5 minutes.
They can call you anytime.
Yep.
You're going to answer the phone. You're going to help them through. You're going to help them continue to learn. You know, for weeks, months, maybe even years once they go through the manufacturer training.
And I stress that so much. You know, please call me if you have an issue. You know, I do in my training try to make it so that guys can do it themselves a little bit, but also, you know, I want them to know that they have a backup. And sometimes if you have a backup, it's good and bad, because if you have a backup, then you're not nervous, or not, you know, I can always call Dave if I need to, but I still want them to be able to fix it themselves, because sometimes maybe I can't pick up the phone. Maybe they're in an area where a cell phone doesn't work. You know, we have a lot of places where you can't even take a cell phone. So with the security, with DODs, and stuff like that, so they need to be able to figure out themselves, but they know they can always call me, and I'll gladly help them. I love helping and fixing, you know, telling guys. My job satisfaction is talking to a guy over the phone, and he's like, oh, I got it now, and fixes it. And I'm like, I did it over the phone.
I say that often with Josh, is like, you know, 2 or 3 people focused together on solving a problem. It's leaps and bounds better. There's just things that you can't think of when you're in the heat of it, and the customer's still upset you didn't get it fixed. But having that resource internally, that's something that we didn't have as we were growing up, or in our infancy, well before you were here. But you know, even talking about the certified trained technicians, it was something, you know, you take another ID number from someone else if you had to call tech support, and you know, it's what you had to do to get to this point, and you know, there's still a lot of companies out there that probably still do that.
I'm
I mean,
sure.
it definitely happens. But yeah, it's fine. It's very relieving to, at least from our standpoint, to have that just knowledge that, or that peace of mind that, okay, we have a tremendous resource in developing our technicians for the future, giving them a career path, in making sure that our customers have that unparalleled experience through that, you know, that whole process.
Just you know, thinking back through the years, and even before this position for you was even thought about, I'd be out on a sales call. I remember one particular out at the one of our clients got a lot of copiers out there, and I was on site. There was something going on. I called you, and you actually walked me through on the phone how to fix it, and I left that sales call. That client was very happy. And
we get a lot of that. Sometimes that's luck, because there's probably only a certain percentage of calls that you can fix over the phone, which is. And that's another thing that
it was a scanty email issue. I remember.
Something like that, and we have to be able to fix that stuff over the phone, you know, because nobody can afford. I don't need this. Isn't some secret that we want to save money. Of course, we want to save money, because we don't want to charge our customers $1 billion, but we also, you know, we want to make money.
Competitive, right?
Yeah, we have to be competitive, exactly. And you know, we have to be able to fix a certain percentage. And I think it's like the industry standard is what, 10 or 12% over the phone now, I think is what they're saying we should be able to fix. So we have to get to that area.
And the best part about us is the people over the phone are literally behind that wall right there.
Oh, yeah.
So they're in our office. There are people trained here versus
I actually trained
call
one of
center
them.
somewhere
Yeah,
else.
I actually trained one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of our dispatchers, you did train.
Yeah, and she wasn't really like I'm going to say probably if if push come to shove and she rolled in here brand new and was like, hey, I don't have any background in this, can I start here? I don't know, we might not have, but because she had dispatch experience, because she already knew most of the the little terms or the beginner terms and stuff, it was an easy transition for her. I was very pleased with the way she conquered the class. I mean, I had her 3 times for 3 different classes, and she was outstanding in all of them. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your passion for this really bleeds through, so that's it's good to see. I mean, it's just great to see in our team. So, what did it take to get you educated to the point where you were able to train? I know it's a trainer program.
Yeah,
you were gone.
I was gone. Yeah, well, I was gone. Sometimes I was able to train like virtual, which was nice, but a lot of times I did spend nights in hotels, and I've even stayed over the weekend because it made no sense to travel back home and to come back because the class was longer than 2 weeks. I spent most of the time probably in Jersey doing Canon and Rico, and I went to Atlanta for Conica. And I tell you what, I don't want to ever go back to Atlanta. That 95 or 85, that 85 from the airport all the way up to them.
Dude, that beltway.
No, never again. I'm driving and I'm going, I'm gonna die. I'm looking around. These people are just like nothing. And I'm like, it was an 8-lane highway on each side. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And I was like, this should be illegal.
It is wild. I lived down in Tifton, Georgia, and that's the airport we had to use during college. I had an internship down there, and it's different than Pittsburgh.
And it's a nice area. I mean, I don't mind. Like weather-wise, it was beautiful, and it looked newish. Kind of like sprawling, But man, that
you're glad to be back home.
Oh I couldn't put into words how shocked I was, because even like the road, you could see the hotel was really, I was on like the 17th floor or something like that, and I could still see 85 going past it. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd get up, I got to go to the bathroom or whatever, and I'm looking at it, it's still packed. I'm like, who's out at 2 in the morning?
Thousands of people, apparently.
I'm like, unbelievable. But yeah, that was.
You did it for the training.
Yeah, I did it for the training.
You did it for your team.
Yeah, for my team. Yep. So, and next week, I actually, on one of those trainings, will train a technician on one of those trainings next week.
So what manufacturers are you certified on?
I am actually
to be able to train.
To be able to train, I am certified on Canon, Ricoh, Konica, Kyocera.
Okay.
And I am in the process right now of starting on Xerox.
What about our HP wide format? How does that?
That, unfortunately, they don't have. You have to pay individually. So those classes aren't free. The manufacturers that I named, all those classes are free. The only thing you got to pay for is your hotel.
Okay.
But the HP wide formats, I don't think that's going to happen, because that is literally you pay like $2,000.
Yeah, I mean it is like a sharpshooter there, which we're fortunate to have, the team in that space as well. But yeah, our traditional manufacturers, as we've expanded our portfolio to be able to serve our clients better, we've had to add manufacturers, and you have technicians that are, like you said back in the day, it was Rico. So talk about like that experience of technicians' ability to be able to expand their horizon. I mean, getting into their psyche, that's part of it too.
No, that isn't, and that's I'm going to say that I mark that as number one, as the technicians. I'm tired of working on 50 different kinds of machines.
The equipment just comes.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's so many different makes and models, and yes, they all use the copy process. That is 100%. They all use the same exact copy process.
Pick up the toner, put it on the drum, put it on the paper, melt it to the paper.
Yeah, they basically magnetize the paper. The toner sticks to the paper. Then the toner is melted onto the paper. That almost every one of them uses that. However, the problem is that stuff's in a different place.
Right,
It's
right.
not always in the same place.
Slightly, right? I mean,
Well, no.
it's similar.
Xerox, I'm finding Xerox is totally backwards. Xerox is the other direction. So I'm nervous when I go and do a Xerox. Normally you open up the right door. Well, Xerox is you open up the left door. So I'm going to be
We've always said that before we started representing them, but they were backwards. But yeah,
Technically, yeah.
they've been a good addition to the portfolio. Here's, as we've grown, it's just we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, no, that's
what's right by our client.
Correct.
We're feeling that right now. And, I've been talking to these manufacturers about tariff increases and whatever else is coming down the line. But we got to pivot and continue to grow and serve our client base. Whatever it takes, it doesn't matter. We're agnostic on the equipment brand.
You guys always say, laugh at me. Dave's favorite question is yes. That's the answer. Now, what's the question? And it scares me, but you are right. We have to have that mentality. Because yes could be yes to anything, and I don't want to. We don't want to be.
Will you clean my gutters?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to be cleaning people's gutters. That's what scares me. But now, 100%,
We don't get those kind of questions.
Yeah, exactly.
But the ones we do get, the answer's got to be
yes.
yes.
Yeah, we have to have that mentality, and that's the dealer way. I think probably a lot of dealers have that mentality because that's just the way a dealer has to be. Because the manufacturer, if you go to the manufacturer and they can't help you, they're literally like, oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah,
Because
gotta buy a
there
new machine.
might be time. Yeah, there might be nothing they can do because. A lot of these machines, I hate to say it, they're designed in Japan. They come over here. If a machine doesn't do something, a machine doesn't do something. That's but we have 5 different machines to choose from, or 5 different manufacturers to choose from.
Get creative.
We can get creative, exactly, and do, we pretty much can do anything the customer wants us to do. So.
Yeah.
What's your favorite to work on? Put you on the spot here.
My favorite, well, I
You
think,
got that legacy background.
yeah, that is the problem, is I have the legacy background, and I enjoy Canon, but there is a reason behind that, and the reason behind that is, I won't get too technical, but Canon has eliminated a copy process, and the other manufacturers don't do that. So theoretically, when you go into a Canon, there's one copy process that you don't have to worry about, which I think makes it a lot easier.
The developer, right?
The developer, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit cleaner.
Yes. So,
Who's the up and coming? I mean, I see from a bigger picture, we're trying to strategize and look at it. What does the industry look like? You got some manufacturers that are going through some financial woes. You have some up and comers. You have some that
Looks
are
like even Xerox is acquiring Lexmark here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I was in a
there's lot
meeting where
going on.
that's already one of the trainings that I will have to go to there once that comes out and comes down the pipeline as to what Lexmark and Xerox are going to do. I'll have to be trained on that. I was already in a Xerox meeting with that. So yeah, that's happening. And I actually, myself personally, this is just me. Don't buy your stocks on it. But I think a lot of those manufacturers are going to start buying up like Lexmark's, maybe Brother or something like that. That might go because the manufacturers don't have that MPS.
They don't.
As good as some of the smaller printers do,
Right.
and I think that's probably going to be the next.
I agree with you. I agree with your mentality there because I think we've seen it since COVID. We've seen it. It's just they don't need this big, high-powered.
They're doing
we're going in
everybody's
school districts
doing
now
more
and-
with less.
Yeah. We're standardizing as opposed to okay, you don't need this huge production printer up here.
Right, 120 page per minute, we're taking down to 90, but we're giving them 90 across the fleet, right? It's just a different...
The complexity of those bigger devices as we get a smaller footprint, as things become more electronic, leading over to where we're looking at the future of the business for Ford.
Yep.
It just, we got to do what's right by the customer and aligning yourself with a manufacturer that's looking to that mentality.
We don't want the manufacturer to come in and say we can do this and Ford can't.
Yeah,
never want to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, if that happens, we're failing.
We're pushing something on us that our customers don't need.
Right,
We need to
correct.
see that, and we need to make sure that we're positioning ourselves like, here's what I think you need as the true consultant for this office technology space.
Just because it's available doesn't mean you should sell it.
Or
you
we're
should-
getting the biggest rebate, or we're getting
Right.
spiffed or something like that on it. We got to do what's right by our clients and aligning our portfolio of product offerings on the office technology side.
And the funny part is when I go to train all the manufacturers and all the teachers, and they know that I'm from a dealer and stuff like that. Believe it or not, secretly, I won't give any names away, but they agree. The dealers have a better option of, if the customer wants something, they can, we can get it for them. They
Yep.
know they can't. If they
We're
work
more
for
nimble.
Konica, Canon, or Ricoh, and the machine doesn't like I said, they can't provide that. So they're like, man, the dealer's the way to go.
The bulk of the revenue that we do with these manufacturers comes through the dealer division.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I agree with you. I think we're more nimble, we're more better positioned, and there's a reason that they're still called manufacturers and we're still called dealers, even though we compete against them directly from a sales standpoint. Kind of boggles my mind, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
That's definitely another podcast, right? Yeah.
How do you see the future of Ford, Dave? You've been here for such a long time, man. And from the heart, I was going to share a story. You mentioned mentorship. There's things that we've taken throughout the years, and you've added value to me. Whether you realize it on a day to day. I still remember the day my dad passed away. You chased me out into the parking lot, gave me a hug, and that just resonates with me. So we've watched you instill that in other people, and very appreciative of that. So. Tell me how you kind of see the future of Ford One. What's next for us? What's our next 10 years look like from your point of view? You're heavily in our office equipment side. As we've grown tremendously in this managed IT space, tell me,
Well, this may be biased a little bit because I see a future for us, and what I see, you got, I don't know, secrets or whatever. We're purchasing other companies.
Yeah.
I think that's
Some
for
acquisitions, yeah.
acquisitions, a company our size, that's definitely the way to go. Hopefully, the only thing that I'm sure scares you too is, are we buying the right?
Yeah.
Are we acquisitioning
There's
the
always
right
that, yeah.
piece of equipment? So that, but I see that is definitely a growth, and the one thing that I see that probably no one else sees is, I believe the IT and the hardware, they're going to start to come together a lot.
I 100% agree with you.
So that-
100% agree.
It's already started.
Yeah, and
I think cross-training these technicians into that IT space really gives
Yeah.
them a future too, whenever it
yeah,
does.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I admit I don't exactly know what that looks like, because a lot of times when we hire technicians, you used to hire guys with like a mechanical background
Yep.
or an electrical background. Now, if they don't have computer experience, there's almost no way you can hire them. They have
How many techs on the imaging side have crossed over? I mean, there's been quite a few.
Over
There's
years,
been
yeah.
there's been a handful. Yes,
Yeah.
they're traders.
It's definitely our conversation earlier about bouncing light off of mirrors to their servers, their computers, their
Oh yeah.
security risks even. I
Yep.
mean, you almost got to be a cybersecurity expert to be a tech. Make sure those
Yeah.
settings are right, that the device is
Yeah,
hardened.
you don't want to get hacked because
Right.
the Wi-Fi was left on.
Yeah, exactly right. It's
Yeah, that was, and that's funny, something, you talked about the old analog machines, and literally I just, yesterday I helped facilitate a production piece of equipment being purchased, and they purchased the expensive Fiery. I think that Fiery was like 15 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and they got two of them. So, 15 grand for a computer.
Well, that's
It's a true expertise.
that's- yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're talking about customers doing more with less in the office environment. In the production space, they're adding things that just give them efficiencies. There's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily 10 people in those print departments anymore.
No,
Those
you're
print departments.
exactly right. That the way the manufacturers have started to take their production equipment is basically, you could get away with, before it used to be you'd have to have a bunch of I guess quote unquote marketing people. I'm not really sure what they would do, but they would do the graphics and stuff like that on like high powered
Graphic
Macs and
designs,
stuff
yep.
like that, and then they would print to the machine, or they would send it down, and the guy would have 3-4 assistants, and they'd sit there and make copies all day. Now it's basically designed, you can have one guy doing the big graphics down, send it down to the printer prints it out, and all the guy down there has to do is he either fills the toner, fills the paper, or takes the finished quality or finished property or whatever and puts it somewhere else.
Quality control a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Quality
exactly.
control and
Yeah,
shipping.
yeah.
Yep.
So that has definitely changed. I mean, I remember going to some places in the beginning where they had a production machine, and they had a team that ran their production machine, and it probably was like 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
And now I probably go back there, I don't even know if they're still in business, but I guarantee if we went back there, they probably have like 2 people working there.
Well, and
You know,
even,
it's
even
not,
the efficiency on
yeah.
the equipment too. I mean,
Yeah.
those old shops, they used to be offset presses. So if you didn't do that if you didn't
Yeah.
do that
Pre-press,
pre-prep
right.
Yeah.
the right way, you were cutting a plate, and those things were expensive.
No,
They
you
were-
had to have a pressman do
Yeah,
that. There was
yeah.
no, we can't work on those. So
Yeah.
none of those.
But a lot of
The
the-
answer is
Yeah.
yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
a lot of the equipment that we're doing right now is replacing that.
Yeah,
those
oh,
are those
yeah,
old,
yeah,
you
that-
know,
You're
those
seeing the
older-
shops go one of 2 ways. One, they're either going full press
Yeah.
and taking, just adopting the new technology in that side, ink
Yeah.
stuff, or they're going full digital. And there's not really that hybrid anymore.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to talk about that I've seen is the media that people are using, or that the
Oh,
machines
yeah.
can
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
I
my.
actually saw.
Put a sheet of plywood through.
Yeah,
these things
that
now.
literally,
It's
it looked
almost-
like somebody had made name tags, and they made them out of like wood, and it literally was wood. They shoved that whole
Wood paper, yeah.
through the wide format, and it made everybody's name tag, and they cut it out, and it literally, I thought, that's literally a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And it was somebody, a company made it as their name tag. I was like, that is cool, and I'm like, I'd hate to work on that. Shoving a piece of wood through the
Splinters are
machine.
not
Yeah,
what you
exactly,
expect
yeah.
when you're working on a copier.
I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, that media, the kind of media that customers are probably going to be using, I think that's going to change too. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to touch on one last, it's just for me, I don't know if you guys have anything, but you mentioned about our industry and the acquisitions and our growth strategy. I think I appreciate that because you've seen, I think since 2020, we've done 6 acquisitions, all of them in our traditional copy hardware realm. But as we continue to move forward, we're looking in that managed IT space. We're looking to keep growing in both sides of our business as they converge together, as you mentioned. But we are still tremendously bullish on the future of this industry. It's going to continue to consolidate. You're going to see those manufacturer providers, I think, come together or go away, either getting rid of that to the independent providers where we'll have the opportunity to acquire a branch of one of the manufacturers in the future.
Yeah.
The value is in the independent dealer space in what we're doing, just because we are that nimble. So yeah, we're very bullish. Our growth strategy is, we want to continue to we want to grow almost 125% by 2030, and you're a pivotal part in that, making sure that we have the talent to be able to serve that marketplace as we grow.
all I can tell you is that I'll do my best. I promise I'll do my best, and that's all. I mean,
You
I
always
wanna-
have, yeah, we know that.
There's
yeah.
no, I'm not out there when I'm away training as everybody. I don't get to come in here that often, and so unless I'm training, everybody comes in. Oh, a new employee. I'm like, yeah, a new employee, but I swear I was working. I wasn't vacationing
that.
somewhere.
Right.
We know that. Yeah.
But how you talked about the growth, and we're trying to grow into IT. I won't mention any names, but some of the manufacturers have grown into like vacuums or other
Yeah,
stuff.
I
We're
know.
we're not. I don't see us going into robotic vacuums
No.
or X-ray machines. I know one of the
Yeah,
guys
no,
had to
that's-
do a X-ray machine, and I'm like, oh man, we need to focus on our industry. I don't think we need
Agreed.
to focus on TSA or
Becoming experts in the office
Yeah.
technology space.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
hone that in, and
Yeah.
because that's what drives value to our clients. I mean, anything outside of there, you take on EV chargers or something like that, it's just a distraction.
Yeah.
Some ancillary
It's-
thing that's going to
it's-
take you
it's-
away
it's
from
so
what we're
short-sighted.
trying
I
to do.
understand why the manufacturer's doing it, but it's still, I think it's going to take away from their, what they need to
Yeah,
be
I
focusing
agree with
on.
you.
Canon, Ricoh. Let's face it, a Canon now, it's a copier. You don't think of a camera anymore, at least I don't.
Right.
When I see a Ricoh, I think of an office machine, I'm sure everybody else does. I don't think people, I want that Ricoh vacuum, or I want that Ricoh X-ray machine. Nobody
Right,
thinks that.
right, yeah.
So we need to stay where that's
In
at.
our lane, yeah,
in our
exactly
lane, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
That vacuum cracked me up when they released it. They were so excited about it. I know exactly
Well,
what you're.
our
And
industry
listen,
is-
that's
yeah.
I got to see it before it was released, and I got to see it in
What
the.
was that name?
Oh, I don't. It
the
was.
Wiz.
The Wiz.
Yeah.
I think something like that, and I got to see the boxes that it came in and stuff like that. And he's like, "Don't tell nobody," but here, this is what I'm like. a vacuum? Because he was like, I got something.
Don't tell anybody. Don't
tell
get too
anybody.
excited.
Don't get too-
Okay,
it's
I won't.
A
That's
vacuum.
not coming out of my mouth
Yeah.
at all, I promise you.
I don't care. You can vacuum all you want.
Temperature scanners during COVID, man,
Yeah.
it is tough to stay focused in your lane.
Yeah.
Make sure that we're
Bright, shiny objects everywhere.
And listen, it's cool. I'm glad that our manufacturers are innovating, but
Yeah.
it's not something that in our right now,
No, I don't.
not in our mix. So.
Yeah, we want to stay really focused on the client experience and delivering cutting edge office technology.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. 1,000,000%.
Awesome. Well, Dave,
Glad you're on the team, Dave.
Yeah, very
Thanks
much
a
so.
ton
Thank
for
you.
the
Yeah,
time.
appreciate
Yeah.
your time today. Yeah, very much so, buddy.
It was nice being here.
it's been a pleasure to work with you,
Yep.
and sorry I got you in trouble on your first day.
I'll just remember that story forever.
Every year Justin tells it to us and we laugh about it. Just
On
kidding.
Dave's anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, many more stories ahead of us.
Yep.
Thank you for
No,
today.
thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to The Cutting Edge.